Hello and welcome to La Rosa Reads. I'm Denise La Rosa, and today we're going to take my December reading, wrap it up, tie it with a bow, and say peace. Let's talk books. Wow, so it feels a little awkward to talk about my December 2022 reading experience in January of 2023. I don't know what it is. I do that all the time, but transitioning from one year to another, it just feels a little weird. But we are here, and I read 9 books, and it was such a good time, you guys. And what a journey it was. So let's dive in. The first book that I read in December was The Partner Track. So The Partner Track, written by Helen Wan, is a Netflix series now. And before diving into the series, I wanted to read the book. I'm one of those people who loves to read the book before watching the movie or the show. We have Ingrid Young, who is a young Chinese American lawyer who is up for partner at this prestigious law firm in New York City. She is dealing with all of the things that come with being a successful, striving woman of color in the professional world. There are microaggressions, macroaggressions, just injustices, unfairness, where she's working twice as hard to get half as much. And coupled with that is this love interest of hers who is working at the law firm with her and is also up for partner. This love interest is a white man, and there's all kinds of drama happening at this law firm. And we get to see how Ingrid deals with this. How does she navigate these challenges, and does she overcome them while being true to herself? And I loved it so much that I gave the book to one of my students in the upper school where I work. And so I don't have the copy with me now because she has it. I am also watching the series now, and I have to say this book was written in 2014, I believe. The book definitely is dated. There are some situations that you can so tell this book was written like 8 years ago. There's a lot of Blackberries involved. So from the technology to how they're having conversations around these different issues, it's definitely dated, but I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the series does a great job of modernizing the content from the book. There's some differences that are happening there, and who knows, maybe I'll make a video about that. There were definitely different choices that they made when filming the series. All in all, a good time. I recommend The Partner Track. Before I show you the next book that I read in December, I have to admit a faux pas. I thought I had read this book in November, but apparently I read it in December. I think it was one of those books that I finished reading at 1 o'clock in the morning on December 1st or something crazy like that. So whatever. You've seen it before. You're about to see it again. It is Muppets in Moscow, written by Natasha Lance Rogoff. And oh my goodness, the unexpected, crazy true story of making Sesame Street in Russia. I've talked about this book in previous videos, so I don't want to go on and on and on about it, other than to say, if you are a fan of Sesame Street, if you are of the Sesame Street generation, you must read this book. It takes all that makes Sesame Street wonderful and inclusive and adds some history and some knowledge about Russia. I know nothing about Russian history. I think a lot about Olive because that's like her thing from a book, Olive, is Russia. And she was actually the one who mentioned this book on one of her videos and inspired me to pick it up. And so it's like a history lesson. It's nostalgic, and it's just fascinating how this children's show was able to cross barriers, to merge cultures. And I just highly recommend it. Natasha, the author, was actually the producer of Ulica Sezam, which is Sesame Street in Russian. I'm sorry if I botched it. I'm trying. And so having this firsthand account of the experience of trying to bring Sesame Street to Russia was just absolutely riveting and fascinating. Please, if you will, I think you would like Muppets in Moscow. Pick it up and read it when you can. And then there was Lily King. 5 Tuesdays in Winter. I picked this book up at random. I had no intentions of reading it, but I believe it was on sale somewhere, and I thought 5 Tuesdays in Winter, I should read this in winter. And the time came, and it was a good time. This is a collection of short stories, and they don't necessarily take place in winter. The title of this book is inspired by the title of one of the short stories, which was actually one of my favorites, 5 Tuesdays in Winter. This book delivered. It was a 3-star read for me. It was a cozy winter read. There wasn't anything overwhelmingly great about it, but it also wasn't underwhelming. It kept a nice, steady, even pace for me, all of the short stories. They were entertaining. The characters were interesting, some more than others. Will I read another Lily King book? Maybe, but I'm not in a rush. I mean, she's fine, but I don't think this is going to be an author that I'm going to be like obsessing over. I do happen to have one of her earlier books, The English Teacher, here on my shelves. So I got it at a library book sale. So I'm probably going to definitely read that. But it was fine, you know. Would I recommend it? Like, if you feel like reading it, but it's not one of those books that I'm gushing about. 5 Tuesdays in Winter was aight. Dun da da da, dun 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 da da. Then there was a Song of Achilles. Those of you who are La Rosa Reads peeps who frequent my channel will already know. So if you know, you know how I feel about this book. If you don't know, you need to watch my favorite reads of 2022 video. Come through, y'all. The Song of Achilles is a book club selection from an upper school book club at the school in which I work, and was not on my TBR, but my goodness, I just have to say, this book took my breath away. The writing was impeccable. The storyline, the characters, the twists, the turns, everything was just mwah, chef's kiss and then some. This book is told from Patroclus' perspective. Patroclus is the very close friend and lover of Achilles, who is a lesser known figure in Greek mythology, yet he gets all the flowers and all the spotlight in this book, and rightfully so, deservingly so. We see how their 18-year relationship evolves and starts from such a tender place, how each of them came to know each other at very pivotal moments in their lives, and how their relationship with each other informed the decisions that they made individually and collectively. The Trojan War is just laid out from such an interesting perspective because it's through Patroclus' perspective. And so you get to experience that. It is just riveting. I cannot recommend this book enough. Madeline Miller goes down as one of the most prolific, gifted writers I have ever read in my 41 years of living on this earth. The Song of Achilles, I'm not a book talker, but Book Talk got it right with this one. You must read this book. And then I went from the Song of Achilles, from like an Achilles heel, to Butts, a backstory. Oh, this book. I've talked about it already because it was my favorite nonfiction read of 2022. I was so pleasantly surprised at how informative, engaging, and thought-provoking this book was. This book takes on a feminist stance about body image and specifically how women's rear ends have been viewed by society, the irony, the just injustice of it all. You find yourself feeling infuriated. You find yourself feeling empowered. I've not had a nonfiction book bring up so many emotions in the way that this book did. So, but a backstory, got it going on, baby. Now, this is a book that I was looking forward to reading for quite some time. I've been hearing about it a lot in Bookstagram world and Booktube world. It is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. And yeah, it's high fantasy, low stakes. We have an ogre here who is just tired of living this rough, tough life of being the villain and decides to give it a go when it comes to opening up her own coffee shop. Now, here's the catch. Folks in the town in which she's opening this coffee shop have never heard of coffee, have never tasted coffee. So she has the task of going out, striking out on her own, leaving her posse of friends and making new friends, starting this business from the ground up, from nothing. And she has a little bit of magical help. You will have to read to find out exactly what that is and what it looks like. But she ends up forming unlikely friendships. She ends up creating this new life that is just filled with love and hope and support from people that was really unexpected to her. So would I say this book was worth the hype? Was it like an incredible reading experience? No. It was fine for the winter. It was fine. I'm on winter break. I'm reading the book and I'm like, okay, this book is good. It's cute. I definitely didn't have all the feels about it in the ways that a lot of people did. I would not put this as one of my top books of the year by any means. But if you're looking for a cute, brainless, mindless read, this could do it for you. So Legends and Latte, it was good. Then I got inspired by Goodreads, and one of my dear in-person friends and Goodreads friends, Erica, had read Let It Snow. I should say she listened to Let It Snow on Audible. It's an audiobook by Michelle Stimson, and the cover and her review of it just intrigued me, and I thought, let's do this. I kept hearing Boyz II Men's song, Let It Snow. And I thought, this audiobook is for me. There's a school teacher, this young Black woman who is a music teacher in an elementary school in Texas. She is trying to treat herself for the holidays by going on a trip by herself to Jamaica. She runs into this handsome guy by the name of Andrew, and they run into each other at the airport, which sounds great. And the entire audiobook takes place at the airport because their flights were delayed for quite a while. So they connect. It's, I wouldn't say love at first sight, it's attraction at first sight, and then they get to know each other because what else are they going to do but talk to each other? They are surrounded by people who were headed to destinations for different reasons, people who each have their own stories of what brought them to that airport. And Nia and Andrew decide to bring Christmas to all of these people, particularly the children of the airport. And so they collaborate to make Christmas happen at the airport for these young people. And in that collaboration, they get to know each other, and it's a good time. You know, it was fun. I usually don't listen to fiction on audiobook, but this one was a delight. I would listen to it at night, and it was fun. So Let It Snow did its thing. Oh, y'all. This audiobook, narrated by Kevin Hart, was simply amazing. It is titled Summer of '85, written by Chris Morrow. Chris Morrow gets the credit, but this definitely gave you the listening experience of a podcast. The Summer of '85 is talking about two strikingly different events that took place in Philadelphia in the summer of '85. There was a bombing that happened with a group known as Africa's, and there was the Live Aid concert that happened in Philadelphia. And the irony of these two events happening in the same location during the same summer is just not lost on anyone who experienced it and anyone who listens to this audiobook. It was actually a book that made me think, would I like listening to true crime via audiobook? Because this was unbelievably well crafted, well produced, and so engaging. It was a history lesson. I'm left with so many emotions afterwards, and I'm left wanting to do more research on what happened in Philadelphia. And I have to say, forgive me, they call themselves Africas, but the group is known as MOVE. And there was a bombing that took place in a suburb of Philadelphia that took the lives of 11 members of MOVE, and this included 5 children. This was a middle-class African-American neighborhood, and to think that during the same summer in Philadelphia, there was this concert to raise money for the famine in Ethiopia is just so bizarre and is deserving of our time and reflection. So I highly recommend you listen to this audiobook. Kevin Hart does an incredible job narrating it. It was a book that I just did not stop listening to until it was over. I spent an entire day listening to it. It was about 4 hours long. So Summer of '85 is a book, an audiobook you should listen to for sure. And last but not least, I thought I would end my December with a very December-y read, and that read was The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews. I've never read a Mary Kay Andrews book, but I keep seeing them around, especially at airports. And speaking of airports, I picked up this book from Back Again Bookshop in Myrtle Beach when we were on vacation over the summer. So if you remember that, if you're a longtime watcher of La Rosa Reads, you may remember that vlog. And it was a good time. You know, it was fine. So we have this young woman who's recently divorced. She lived in Atlanta, had a business, a marketing business with her now ex-husband. She leaves it all to start a new life. She randomly purchases a farmhouse in a small town in North Carolina, solely online, sight unseen. Her real estate agent is there to meet her when she arrives at the farmhouse, and you know, he's good looking. You get where this is going. And so this farmhouse was owned by this family who were like known as Mr. and Mrs. Claus, like literally, of the town. The husband and wife portrayed Mr. and Mrs. Claus in the wintertime at all kinds of events. And they also had this farmhouse lit up. They were just like known for bringing Christmas to the town. And she finds in one of the closets, she finds an old Santa suit. And in that suit is a letter. This letter was written to Santa from a young girl who's asking Santa to bring her father back from the Vietnam War. From there, the now owner of the farmhouse is seeking answers. She's curious about who was this girl? Did she realize her Christmas wish? Did her father come back? And I don't want to tell you anymore because the story just continues to unfold. It was very Lifetime movie-ish, like through and through. Impossible scenarios, cheesy, cute little ending. I did have a moment towards the end where I was like, oh, what? Oh my goodness. And guess what? That's what I was expecting from this book. So I wasn't looking for anything literary. I got what I wanted. It was a decent read. There was a part that was a little bizarre about Christmas and the Jewish faith, and I just felt like it was unnecessary. So there were some little odd moments that didn't gel, but all in all, it is what it is, you know. Will I be reading future Mary Kay Andrews books? Probably not. It didn't blow my socks off, but it was a good time nonetheless. Yay! So there you have it, my friends. All of my December reads from 2022. What did you read in December? I would love to know. Hop over in the comments and let's chat it up. If you want to know what I'm planning on reading in January, check out my January TBR video right here. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.